Morning, everybody. A little later today. It's 8 o'clock on Tuesday, and normally I do these videos like right whenever I get back from the gym, but I'm working from home today because I got an appointment at like 4 o'clock. I got to go and be up in the hills. So I want to go over today about masculinity, and redefining what that means and how to find it. Again, everything I say is a journey that I'm on, or it's just recently that I've gone through some of these things, and I want to be able to share with you guys. It's not like I know everything about everything, but I do want to try to share what I've learned and what I can do and what I can't do and what it's applied to me. And if it doesn't apply to you, that's great. 100%. But if it does apply to you and it helps, leave some comments, or if you have better ideas, please leave that too. Because after all, at the end of the day, we're all here just helping each other. And that's the goal of this channel, for me to help you and you to help me and us to grow and learn together. So what I wanted to talk about was masculinity. In a relationship, sometimes we give up our masculinity. They always say you could be right or you could be happy. Happy wife, happy life. These are things that are kind of conditioning to a degree. There is a part of that that absolutely has to be looked at, and some things don't matter. Not everything has to be a battle. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. Not everything has to be a battle. Not everything has to be a fight. But there are some times when you got to stand your ground. And I unfortunately didn't do enough of that. I kind of just let everything roll because I didn't really care. And well, I did care. But what I did is I got stuck in that mantra of happy wife, happy life, and pick your battles, and this too shall pass, and all these little things that I've learned whenever I was younger. That basically you got to let some things go, let go, let God. There's a lot of phrases out there that talk about almost being like a pacifist in a way. But in a relationship, I think it's super important that you maintain your dignity and you maintain your manhood. However, that manifests itself, as long as it's in a positive way. I'm not saying you need to be mean to your wife and mean to your kids or nothing, because that's not what manhood is about. Manhood and dignity is more about the ability to know your worth, know your value, and being able to stand your ground whenever it's necessary. Again, happy wife, happy life. I get that. I really do. But don't go too far on that. And that's where I made my mistakes. I never chose battle. I never chose it. I just let everything just run, 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 run. I'm not going to talk about what my ex-wife did or didn't do. I'm going to talk about the mistakes that I made. That's what this channel is really about. I'm not going to, well, she this and she that. And so the channel is about what mistakes I made and how I'm learning from it and what I need to do to get better at things. So, when we are masculine, because that's who we are, we are men, and men are supposed to be able to have an animal inside of them, a monster inside of them, and they're supposed to be able to control that monster. You got to have that. You got to have that desire, that passion, that rage, that makes us men, because we're dominant. We are dominant. We're the creatures that go out and slay the dragons, and I like using that term, and I say it all quite often. But we're the builders, we're the creators, we're the ones that go to war, we're the ones that seek to protect our families. And I'm not saying women aren't capable of doing this stuff. It's 2026 now, and yeah, women can do everything you can. But that's been something that I think that is not traditionally the norm. And I do think that it absolutely, women got a place in all kinds of areas. And I'm not trying to be gender biased or nothing like that whenever I'm speaking about this, but I'm talking about the traditional roles. The traditional roles. Me, and I'm sure you, we feel better when we're valued as men. And again, men are conquerors. We are protectors. We are providers. We are the ones that guide our family. It's supposed to be like that. It really is supposed to be like that. Now, if we're in some relationship where the woman's guiding the family, then I think it's not that traditional in a sense, because men can have value. And obviously, if a woman makes more money, a stay-at-home dad, that's, who cares? I'm not talking about that. But what I'm talking about is not sacrificing your manhood to do that. You can still be manly and still be the more uh, parenting role at home than your wife is, because she makes more money. And that's fine. It's not about ego, guys. It's not about that. Honestly, masculinity is not about ego. Masculinity is knowing your value, knowing your worth, knowing your position, knowing what your prime directive is, as they like to say in Star Trek. And I lost that 100%. I lost that in this relationship, or rather, I gave it away. And for a decade. It was all just letting everything roll off my back, 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 roll off my back. And I think I didn't, I got to a point where I didn't like myself too much too. Or at least I didn't like the way I was, I don't want to say treated, but how I surrendered, and I lost that part of me. I lost that ability to be a man and have masculinity. And I think that in some ways too, maybe that's some things that might have um, hindered our relationship because, a woman wants to be protected. She does wants to be protected. I think that most women would desire a man that can provide. Doesn't mean financially either. Provide means they know that you're capable of doing something, not that you do it all the time. If something breaks, they want to know you could take care of it. If there's that noise at nighttime, they want to know that you're going to be out there and you're going to protect the family. You're going to protect her. If there's hard times happening and her world's falling apart, she's going to know that she can come home. She's going to talk to you and she could surrender her fear to you. You're going to protect her. That's what I mean by that. You're going to be the providing person. Now, a woman has a role too in a relationship, and that's the feminine. Just conversely, just like men are supposed to be masculine, women are supposed to be feminine. You know, when the son gets injured, he's supposed to run to mom because mom's going to nurture him and baby him and love him and stuff. And mother's love is the only thing that kids understand whenever it comes to comfort. A father's love is the only thing that kids understand when it comes to protection and strength. So we gotta maintain that no matter what. And like I said, I lost that during this relationship for a long time, for long years. I became more of a friend or a child or the comedy relief person or the yes dear, yeah, oh I see your point, that kind of thing. And when I got to the other side of this, and again, this has only been since October 27th when she moved out, and October 5th when she said she wasn't in love with me no more. I think some of the things through all the self-help books and all the things that I was reading and all the things that I've been doing and praying and all this stuff, that's when I started realizing that, I had to get that back. How do you get that back? How do you get that back when you don't have it or when you lost it? It's kind of like, they say it's like riding a bike. Once you've done it, you always know how to do it. But this is an emotional characteristic thing. This is something that's inside of us. It's a trait. Traits don't disappear quickly and they don't come back quickly either. You can't just create a trait. You can't create a characteristic. You can't create a behavior. So it takes practice. You have to practice it over and over and over. Before you practice it, you got to know what it means. What does it mean to be masculine? What does it mean? Well, to me, what it meant was things that I did on the inside. You know, there's a lot of guys that will compete with other dudes. And, if they got a good car, they want to get a better car. If they're watching them at the gym and they're lifting that, they want to lift something like that. Or if they're dressing a certain way, they want to dress like that. Or if they're acting a certain way, they want to act like that. They don't want to be the intimidated person in the room. They want to, oh, look at this dude. So no, I don't think that's it. Not for me anyhow. I don't gauge my worth based on competing with other people. I don't believe in that. And that's okay if you're in sports or something like that. And it's okay, at times, but masculinity comes from the inside. So what I chose to do is I chose to have little tiny goals that I placed inside of my head. And I've talked about it in these videos, and some of it was learning to let go of hurt, learning to allow God into my heart. When I say letting go of hurt, I mean that not saying that it doesn't hurt, but saying that I can survive. I can make it to the other side. And again, I know this is a trait that's not really about just men and masculinity, but for me to become a man again, I had to know that I could survive this. I had to know that I can make it through the other side because I don't want to live in fear. Boys, children live in fear. So that's why I say knowing that you can get past hurt because you got to have faith in that. So number one thing you got to do to create your masculinity and get it back is you got to have faith that you can get past the hurt. When I started working on that and I started believing it slowly but surely, I mean, I could have the outside world tell me, time heals all pain, but when you're in it, and you guys know this stuff, man, when you're in it, it's the moment. The moment matters. That's what the only thing that matters. And you're going to hurt, you're going to twist, you're going to turn, you're going to cry, you're going to beg, you're going to plead, you're going to do everything. And it's really hard to see tomorrow or even a month from now, let alone the next 20 minutes, because you'll look at your phone, you'll want to call. You look at your phone, you want to call. That's what I did. I want to text. I want to get back to you. I want to like, then I'll scroll over to, like, I have her blocked on every social media, but at the beginning, it would be where I'd look at Facebook, then I'd go to Instagram, then all this stuff, and then I'd look to see if she's seen my text message, and I lost myself in the hurt, and trying. At first, I tried to win her back, and I groveled and begged and pleaded and stuff, and I'll talk about that right after this hurt part. But so, the very first thing is you gotta understand you can't get past the hurt. To regain some of your masculinity, you gotta believe in yourself. You're strong enough. You're strong enough to get past this hurt, guys. 100%, without a doubt, you're gonna make it. It won't kill you. Pain of the heart will not kill you. It'll make you want to die. It'll make you feel like you're gonna die. But physically, it can manifest itself physically, and you can get sick. But you will get through it. Yeah, time does heal all pain, but walking through it, you had to create little tiny wins to be able to get through that hurt, man. You got to have hope, but you also got to create little tiny wins. So for me, it was believing in myself to know that I can get through that. The next thing is value. And when I say value, I know I said a little bit ago, competing with other men, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about knowing value in yourself, because I felt like I was useless, and I felt like nobody would ever love me again, and I felt like it was going to be the end of the world. That's where I was at 100% at the very beginning of this. I didn't feel valued. I didn't feel loved. And it's weird because, like, when you have the person that you love just walk out on you, and that's the only thing that you see as the source of your value, it's absolutely going to devastate you. And I think most men go through more of a devastation because, again, most men are 6 months behind what happened in the relationship. It's almost universal. This happens, man. The woman makes a plan. She's doing her thing. And then all of a sudden she moves. And it's been a plan. It's been something that's already happened for a while, guys, for a while. You're just catching up. And remember I told you in a couple videos ago, it's like the star that explodes. You won't see that light for billions of years. The woman that left you, you won't see that evidence of that for 6 months. They don't run from a situation to more scary situations. If you're beating them or hurting them or creating fear or treating your children wrong, then you're an ass, and you deserve every kind of legal and criminal investigation against you 100% that there is. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just relationship where people fall in love or the woman cheats or something like that. I'm talking about you being a good dude and them leaving you. This is where I'm at. This is what I feel about. So your value has to be that you believe that you have substance about yourself. Your value is that there's purpose in this world for you. And for me, what I had to do is take small wins. And like I've told you before, I started changing the way I looked. I didn't do it for other people. Sure, 100%. When a strange girl at Facebook likes your photo and goes, "Oh, you look amazing," which happened the other day, it was really like, oh my God, wow, what a trip. And then like for me, I took a couple photos of my mom. She took them off my Facebook, and she revamped them and turned them in some like a video, kind of like with background and music and stuff like that. And it's cute as hell that she does that. I'm still her little boy. I'm 58 years old. I'm still her little boy, and she's like, I just don't want to see my son hurt. And that warmed my heart too, guys, because that's the part. Like I said, we have to be masculine, but I'm not gonna lie, that made me feel good. That warmed my heart, Mom. If you're watching this video, I love you, and that really warmed my heart whenever you say you don't want to see your little boy get hurt no more, and you help to change that picture to where it makes me look like I'm kind of cool. Again, I'm not really cool. I'm working on that stuff. I think I know I have a lot more value than what I did in 2025 when this first started. So you have to create your value, and it's going to be little tiny wins that you're going to have to take. You're going to have to do some things that's going to be uncomfortable at the beginning, like I was talking about with the clothing and stuff, and you're just going to have to try to do things bit by bit by bit. If you're eating beef sticks all day and drinking beer, just take one thing and change that. If you could change your health, that makes you more valuable, because eventually your mind is going to feel better because all those poisons and toxins from whatever you're eating is not in there, and you're going to think more clearly. So you'll see yourself more valuable, and you'll understand things better. So getting past the hurt, working on your value. And then next thing is going to be, and I know this is going to be a little bit scary for some people, but it's going to be your image. Image is hard because you don't want to overdo it, and you have to be grounded in what you see in the mirror. You have to look at yourself and say, hey, I like that. And that's rough. I'm one of them people, I'm really, really hard on myself. And I've always been, I've had other people tell me, you're a good looking guy, but I've never felt that in myself. So this has been one of the biggest things for me, guys, 100% big, big thing. 1 out of 20 times do I look at myself in the mirror and think, oh, that's a good looking dude, or, I look okay today. I always see the flaws in myself. I always see the bent nose and the belly and, I don't know, the probably too thick of a neck, which, or something. And I see the receding hairline a little bit now. But I've always seen myself, and I picked apart the little tiny things of myself. So what I've had to do is I've had to say, you know what? I've had to look at what's really important. What's really important is my effort in my look, not my look. It's my effort in my look. And when I say that, what I mean is that I can't compare myself to the 58-year-old model that's in GQ and go, gosh, I just don't look like that. Doesn't matter how many setups I do. It doesn't matter what I do. What I had to do is I had to create a goal inside of myself and say, these are the things I'm going to work on when it comes to image. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to purposely try to get my shoulders bigger. I'm going to purposely try to clean my beard up and keep that on point all the time. Even on a weekend, I don't want to go out of the house and be scruffy. Doesn't matter if I'm wearing regular clothes and sweats that day because I'm just running to Marvell's to go get a loaf of bread. But what I'm talking about is I don't want to be scruffy no more. I want to look a little bit better and clean. So purpose helps with the image. So it for me anyhow, I took the little tiny wins. I said, okay, I'm going to work on this and that and that and that and that and that and that. Get teeth whitening strips if you need to. If you guys, my teeth are really good. But if you have to clean up your teeth, get teeth whitening strips. That's the quickest, smallest little value thing that you could do to be able to change your image. Just whitening up your teeth. Cleaning yourself, guys. Remember the other day I talked about the ear hair and the nose hair and the neck hair and stuff like that. Start doing these small little things. It'll create more. It'll create small incremental changes in your appearance, but do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. Again, all these things are about what you're going to do internally. And when I say internally, I know image is on the exterior, but I mean, you're not doing it for other people's opinions. That will come. There will be people that'll notice. Women, I think in general, of course, I don't know a lot about women. I've been married 3 different times, but they're still an alien creature and I'm still trying to figure them out. But I can tell you this, is that I think that women, without a doubt, appreciate a man's effort more than they do a gorgeous man. A gorgeous man, they'll look at, ooh, man, he's hot, like that. But beyond that, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Just like with us, we see a woman and she can get our attention because she's hot or things are, in the right place and stuff like that. But beyond that, so what? So what beyond that? And I mentioned this in a video earlier. I've seen women that were a little bit heavier and men that are a little bit heavier, and they really take care of themselves. And you could see that, and you go, wow, look at that, man. She's really pretty. And guys will do that, and I've done it before. She's really pretty, even though she's not naturally gorgeous or sexy. She's really pretty, and it's all about how you carry yourself. So again, don't do it for that reason. Don't start off doing that. I want you to look at the mirror, and I want you to go, hey, I don't like this. I don't like that. What do I got to do? I want to work on this. I want to work on that. What do I got to do? I don't wear this out in public. This is just my inside the house shirt and stuff like that. But when you purposely start to change small things about your appearance and you look in the mirror, I want you to take that win, man. These small wins are what matters. You're not going to stack a huge win on top of huge win on top of huge win. Sometimes it's going to take a couple weeks before you go, that's not that bad. I like that. There's going to be this thing that, I like that. That's pretty good. I'm really appreciating this. So when it comes to image, I want you to start looking for small things that's going to make you feel better about yourself. And again, a lot of men out there are going to be, the sweats, and because that's who I was. I was the sweats and the hoodie and the, I don't want a collared shirt except for at work. I'll wear a collared shirt, whatever, but literally, I'm starting to wear, like I said, I order clothes from Stately now, and it's an online clothing thing, and I'm letting someone else kind of figure out what my design is and what my fashion is, and then stuff I just can't handle, I send back, or it's just way too tight, I send back. But I'm wearing things that I'd never worn before. Not in a long time anyhow, not in 17 years, not in this marriage. I used to be kind of a spiffy dresser to a degree, but excuse me, I became, since I gave up my masculinity, like I talked about, I didn't really care about my looks as much. I was always clean and I didn't stink and I did brush my teeth, you know what I mean? And my clothes were clean. But style wise, I didn't carry style. REI sneakers, jeans, and some kind of shirt or, cargo shorts. That's my gig. That's my get down. But I'm not doing that anymore. Because like I said, I got to take these small little wins. I want you guys to take this as an example too and start working on small little things. So masculinity comes back from knowing that you can get past the hurt. You know what I mean? And also I want you to work on your image too. So if you can make these small little wins, you'll start feeling better about yourself, and don't ever surrender that. Do all these things internally for yourself is what I'm talking about. That way you can take these small wins and bit by bit, you'll change, and tomorrow will be a better day. But guys, get your masculinity back. Get your value back. You got to create that inside of you. It's not going to be anywhere else. And again, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say it for a lot of videos. Don't date yet. Don't date. If you have old female friends that are friends, that's okay to go out with, because I've done that and I'm going to do that. I'm going to continue to do that because it's pleasant to be around the opposite sex. It's pleasant to practice things. And if you got girlfriends that are friends that are girls, it's 100% okay to bounce ideas off of them. You know what I mean? And I've done that a lot. Matter of fact, the women in my life right now have probably been some of the biggest help, because guys are a little, like I was. They're like, oh, well, whatever, that kind of thing. I don't think that they aren't pushing me to do stuff. The women are some of my biggest cheerleaders right now in my life, and I'm really thankful for them. I really am. And they're emailing me and text messaging, talking to me and all this stuff. And they know my boundaries 100%. I tell all of them, hey, I'm broken. I can't do this. And this has been over the course of 60 days, but I'm not as broken anymore, guys. And that's a big win for me. That's huge, and I'm starting to shine. 2026 is my year. I don't know what it means, but I do know what it means in the aspect of I'm not that broken guy from 2025. And that's where I want you guys to be. So again, if you have any comments, put it down in there. I see that I get a little bit of views, and it's cool. It's like my 10th video or something like that. And I think I'm up to like 280 views altogether. And that's cool. That means the world's looking at some things, and I appreciate it. I really, really do, because I just want to make an impact. And again, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to this isn't going to be like a money-making idea for me, because that's like me starting taking singing lessons and think I'm going to go be as popular as Journey. That's going to be my life, and I'm going to be okay. I'm only the guy that's singing in the shower. You know what I mean? So I'm singing in the shower, but I'm going to record it. I'm going to get it out there to you guys. And if you like it, it's cool. Sing with me. And maybe one of these days I'll do Stray Cat Struts with you guys, because that's the kind of music I know every word for word. All right, you guys have a good one. Love you.